He also says that when it happens, the biggest winner is going to be crypto. Bo, that's really some big statements there.
Yeah.
Explain to me why you think that there's going to be a global equities meltdown. And you sent us some slides, and the first slide says it's a red November and everything's about to collapse. So talk me through this.
Okay. What we have, if you look at the chart here, this is called a rising wedge. And if you've noticed the stock market for years, what it's done is it's been moving up, grinding higher. And as it continues to grind higher, you get complacency in the stock market. Everybody believes that the stock market will continue to go up and it will not stop. The problem that you have is that the markets narrow. And as they continue to narrow, the price narrows. If the bottom channel breaks, the markets violently plunge. So let's go to the next chart here. This is the great crash of '87. What do you see there? It's a rising wedge, okay? So on that chart pattern, what you saw, after the bottom wedge broke, it came up, bounced, and then the US markets crashed 37%.
That was in '87.
That was in '87, okay? Now, the time pattern here on that chart is approximately 760 days. This is important.
Okay.
Now, the next chart pattern here is the great crash of 1929.
That was a 50% crash.
That was a 50% crash. This crash, the chart pattern was approximately just over 600 days.
Okay.
So the quicker the rise, the sharper the drop.
Okay.
Okay? So this is Australia today. You'll notice Australia sits on the lower channel. If that channel breaks, Australia will crash. Let's look at Switzerland. Switzerland is sitting on the lower channel. When that channel breaks, and notice it's narrowing. All of these chart patterns are narrowing. Switzerland is about to crash. Here's the United States. Everyone can say how wonderful and how strong the United States stock market is. I fully agree. Until 23,500 is hit this month, possibly, or as early as November. When the markets touch that lower channel, you're going to see the U.S. equity markets plunge. Now, this is really important here to understand the difference of China versus the United States. Now, I don't remember if you look back, but in the year 2007, China and the world stock markets topped in October.
And then they crashed.
And then they crashed. We are in the month of October, okay? So what happened but this is interesting. This is a very important analogy here because China's not crashed. China's been crashing for several months already. If you look at '07, China dropped. There's a support line, a blue line you can see on the chart pattern. China broke support in January after it started to fall. Then you can see markets were crashing all the way into June, and then it was in June of 2008 when the US markets began to plunge because they broke support. So it took 5 months for the US markets to catch up, and then they finally crashed. So that 5 month spread basically says that China historically has led the world market.
And where is China today?
China is now falling, and it broke that support line 4 months ago.
Which means that we've got 1 month left.
Which means next month in November, the US markets will plunge with China.
So you're saying that next month? November?
Yes.
The US markets are going to plunge?
Right.
That's the equities markets?
Yes.
So I don't really care about the equities markets. I am very focused on crypto.
Well, guess what? I got some good charts for you. Let's go to the next one. Just before, we got to go through this chart here. Double top. A double top means markets make a high, they drop, they come back up and make another high. If the traders can't push it through the first top, the markets will suddenly reverse and crash. And that's what you see right here in the US stock market. You'll see the US stock market, the great crash is coming. This is what's indicated. In January, the US stock markets made a top.
So what you're saying is that here on Crypto Trader, we're announcing ahead of time
yes,
that the US markets, the great crash of 2018 is about to happen.
It'll be here before year end.
You heard it first on Crypto Trader.
Yes. And let's take matters a little further here. The double top, we posted a video stating that on October 4th, the US equity markets will begin to crash. And on October 4th, the stock markets began to crash on the exact date.
So the point is, the markets, and you'll see what happened. The second wedge broke and the markets plunged 1,600 points on the Dow.
Who cares about equities? Let them plunge, let them burn. What happens next?
Well, because it does matter because if the markets don't crash hard enough, no one's going to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not going to go up until people have a reason to invest in cryptocurrencies. They need to lose faith and confidence in the stock market and the equity markets. That's the key.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the markets are about to crash.
Right.
The equity markets are about to crash. Everybody's going to lose faith in the stock market, and the money is going to flow up and go to
Bitcoin, the alternate coins, gold and silver. We're going to have a massive financial shift before year end. All the charts you've looked at, you had rising wedges. This is a descending wedge. It's the exact opposite. When one falls, the other goes up.
So for those of you who have equities, jump the ship. And for those of you who don't have Bitcoin, now is the right time to buy.